Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas podcast, where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. Joining me, my good friend, fellow University of North Georgia alumni, Matt Green, is here, and also the co-host of the Georgia Voice of College Football show. It's a pod divided, Vols versus Dogs. Matt, good evening, my friend. How are you?
Good evening, sir. We are inching closer and closer to the start of a college football season. I'm
season too. Are people camping out at the local Kroger for Tequila Falcons football? Is that the talk when you're in the supermarket right now? Where do folks think the Falcons are headed here in 2025?
The local Kroger's, absolutely. Town's buzzing.
We need to get you to the Tequila Falcons game, man. Have you been yet in person?
No, I have not been to a Tequila Falcons game. Well, I've been to a Tequila Falcons game in my life, but not since I moved to Tequila. Since I became a native. I guess I'm not a native. Since I became a whatever you want to call it, resident. There you go.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Well, Matt Green, it is a pod divided right here on this Sunday night as we're taping this. And folks are hearing this. It'll be the 11th, which is 19 days away from both of our teams playing college football. A week prior, we'll get week 0 with Kansas State and Iowa State in Ireland, which will be a whole lot of fun, but it doesn't count for conference purposes. So it will not go in the win-loss column for them, which is odd. But, I will still take week 0 football any way you can have it. So it'll be fun. I'm excited that will be back on the calendar sooner rather than later. But fall camp.
How do you feel about week 0? Like calling it week 0?
So I'm okay with it. I'm actually okay with like moving the entire calendar up a week anyway. Like I think we need to be doing that to begin with because of just the transfer portal era that we're in. And part of what you and I have talked about was, the calendar is still very much a mess, and we'll see. Nothing has been passed in terms of like dropping one of the transfer portal windows, right? Like we're still waiting on that to actually happen. Them just pick whether or not we're going to do a spring window or a winter window, just pick something and move forward. But part of it is that I think one of the things that I would like to see happen sooner rather than later is this weird layoff between the end of the regular season and the start of the college football playoff. So I would move up the season to week 0, just being the start of the season for everybody. And I would also have the college football playoff not have that gap in December, like that's got to be part of it too. To me, if you're going to expand and everything else, you need to be moving in the early part of December and get this thing done going into January. And right now it just goes too late in the season. I think you and I talked about this when it happened. It was a great national championship game between Notre Dame and Ohio State. I liked the game itself, but they lost a lot of juice because the season went on too long. Like the season dragged on and people were really burnt out by the end of it. I imagine Ohio State and Notre Dame fans weren't, but everybody else was kind of like, I just didn't feel like there was the same level of buzz as there's been the last couple of years. And I think it was just because there's too many games and it's too late. It goes too late in the season. So I would move it up at least a week, and I would just make week 0 the new week 1.
Yeah, I think we talked about that a few weeks ago. Someone was it Dan Lanning, I think, that suggested that. And yeah, like college football should be played on Saturdays. Like that when Penn State SMU was coming on, it was just like, this is really weird. This is a really weird time to be having a college football game right now. Grant, was that on a Saturday? That may have been the Saturday one, actually, now that I think about it. I think Indiana Notre Dame was the Friday night one.
That was Friday night because Penn State SMU was the first game. But the weirder part to me was that the games being on HBO Max and Turner, where the announcers were not college football announcers that we all
and
know.
It was noon. It didn't have like a playoff atmosphere. No. I didn't feel like, but I feel like there's 2 words that are holding up this whole thing, and it also could be the solution to this whole thing, and that is Rose Bowl. Like the Rose Bowl has been the one thing, there's been the one like entity that's like not budged 1 inch. It's like our game is going to be played on January 1st at the golden hour, whatever it starts, like 3 p.m. I think local time. And then it's the sunset around the third, fourth quarter, and it's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. I think the Rose Bowl, they had the Rose Parade, New Year's Day, all that. Like, I think that's never going to change. So either it's like the Rose Bowl is part of it, or they're just kind of doing their own thing. I think if you just changed college football to the college baseball format, finals are in Omaha every single year. College World Series is in Omaha every single year. If you just move the calendar in a way that the Rose Bowl is just the national championship on January 1st every single year, I feel like that could solve a lot of problems. I don't know if everyone would agree with that, but it feels like the tradition of the Rose Bowl is what is preventing like the flexibility with when you play certain big time bowl games and things like that. And it has to be like, obviously there's some flexibility. It doesn't have to be Saturday necessarily every playoff game, because January 1st and December 31st are like such big college football days, regardless of what day they fall on. But yeah, I think, I don't know. Everyone that's ever been to the Rose Bowl says it's like the greatest thing ever. So it feels like every game in the Rose Bowl has that big game environment, that big game feeling, and like make it the national championship every year. The granddaddy, they already call it the granddaddy of them all. Like that, I think it would be, and then you obviously would then finish the season earlier if it's on January 1st, and then, you know, do something about it. Now you got like maybe 2 weeks, a week or two until the next school year's, this next semester starts, and have the portal or whatever's going on right then. But yeah, I don't know how they can actually, like, from an antitrust perspective, like, I don't know how they can legally have one portal window, because it, like, if you're like, now there's NIL and things like that, like, you can just pay your own way. Like, I'm not on scholarship. Oh, I guess you guys can't do that with the walk-on situation. But they're just, anyone can leave school at the end of a spring semester or winter semester. Like, you can go to a different school. It's just, it feels like it's gonna be difficult to prevent an athlete from doing that. Like, yeah, I didn't transfer after the season ended, but like spring semester ended, and I'm gonna go to a different school. Like, I don't know how you can like really prevent a guy from doing that.
Above my pay grade, Matt Green, but I do hope it happens.
And I guess you can still do that, but you're not eligible to play, I guess is the situation there. But I don't know. It just seems like a tough. I feel like just the fact that school is broken down into semesters, it seems like it's only logical that you have a portal window at the end of each semester, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, Matt Green, don't forget, folks, you can watch this program on YouTube. Well over 2,500 subs now here, so I appreciate you guys watching us. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up on this very video, comment, join the comment section here on YouTube. New episodes premiere Monday through Friday on this channel at noon every single day Eastern time. You can also check out Chase Thomas Podcast for all of our links and show notes and all that good stuff and information about this very show that we do twice a week here in the college football season, once a week in the off season, pod divided for the Vols and the Dogs, and then college football as a whole. You can also read me over there at sportsrenaissanceman.com for all my Tennessee Vols coverage. Wrote 2 columns over the weekend. You can check out and become a subscriber there. You can also support the show in the easiest way if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other audio podcast player. Leave us a 5-star rating and write us a review. It helps other people find the show, and it helps this very show continue to grow. You can also join the conversation by emailing us at chasethomaspodcast@gmail.com. Matt Green, Dog Bites, first up here. Buying or selling all the offseason buzz with the wide receivers? It seems like there is a whole heck of a lot of buzz about Zachariah Branch, about Noah Thomas. Are you buying this resurgence and renaissance potentially for the Georgia wide receiver room after leading the country in drops a season ago?
Absolutely, sir. For one, I am under the opinion that it cannot get worse. So I think it only gets better from what it was a year ago. I even think if you bring out that 2024 roster and the exact same players, the exact same personnel, I guarantee it's better, because like, if you do 1,000 simulations of the season, like there can't be that many where they're dropping 37 passes. Like it was insane what happened a year ago. I think Zachariah Branch is obviously the one that gets the most hype, but I think Noah Thomas is the one that's going to have the biggest impact on Georgia's season. Like I think that's what Georgia was missing more than anything a year ago. Not that they necessarily had a Zachariah Branch on their team either. Like, I guess you would say Dominic Lovett was that role, and Dominic Lovett was significantly more productive last year than Zachariah Branch was. But I think Dominic Lovett had a significantly better quarterback than Zachariah Branch did a year ago. So I think you put Zachariah Branch in. I expect him. I mean, I kind of didn't want to put a lot of stock into Branch because the production wasn't really there a year ago. I know he's a 5-star and he looked like he was going to be a star as a freshman, but I've just been hesitant to like, okay, we'll see what he really is. But it's like every single practice note that comes out he's like the first one. So everyone's talking about him, but I feel like Noah Thomas, just this 6'6", whatever he is, 200 pounds, like, dude is just going to be a weapon, I think, in Georgia's all. Like, to go from being Texas A&M's leading receiver a year ago, like this guy had, elite production, or at least he had like a full season of big time production, unlike Zachariah Branch. And Marcel Reed playing quarterback, and who's the other dude? I'm blanking on that transferred. Wegman.
Oh, Connor Wegman.
Like their quarterback situation wasn't very stable a year ago, and he still had a big season. I think he's going to be the one that probably leads Georgia in like receiving essentially this year. But also Colby Young, getting Colby Young back was just massive. Like with what Georgia was supposed to be last year in the receiving room, and Ra Thomas gets kicked off the team before it starts. Colby Young gets kicked off. Like even worse, like you've played 4 or 5 games now with this guy, and now you have to change things up on the fly. Like you saw like he was like, what, he had 3 for 57 against Alabama, 3 for 51 against Auburn, had a touchdown versus Clemson. Like he was making a difference, kind of, and that's what Georgia didn't have, that Javon Wims kind of role, that guy that just Lawrence Cager, just the big body you can get the ball to. And I think with Noah Thomas and Colby Young, you have 2 of those guys that are proven at the Division I, at the FBS Power 4 level. Like these guys have both had 40, 50 catch seasons at Texas A&M and Miami. So I think Gunnar Stockton can be, 3/4 of how, 3/4 of what Carson Beck was a year ago. And the offense can be significantly better because of just how much better the receiving room is this year. And I haven't even mentioned any of the freshmen that are also creating buzz. Like Taylon Taylor, like this guy's a 5-star freshman wide receiver. Like of all the positions we've seen, like true freshmen make an immediate impact, like wide receiver feels like kind of one of the most common ones. So if Taylon Taylor is another guy that's creating a buzz, as well as some returning guys, London Humphrey, who was a big time out of the transfer portal a year ago that no one's even really talked about. Like he might be the 5th or 6th option on the team this year. So I just think it's a way deeper room than it was a year ago.
Yeah, it's definitely deeper. I would. It's weird. I feel more bullish about the receivers at Georgia this year than the running backs. Still see it to believe it with Roderick Robinson and the depth behind Nate Frazier. I think there's possibilities at running back to be a whole lot deeper and run the ball better. But I think the receivers, it just feels like there's a whole lot more options. Like it's kind of frustrating as a Tennessee guy here, Matt Green, because Georgia had the receiver offseason that I wanted Tennessee to have. And Tennessee obviously in on Zachariah Branch. I wanted them to get in on Noah Thomas. Branch and Thomas end up at Georgia, but they both, Tennessee and Georgia, end up with multiple blue chipper freshmen in this class. They have big time 5-star receiver talent, 4-star talent, young guys, but the difference was this offseason, Georgia went out and supplemented those guys and gave them a little bit of time with Noah Thomas and Zachariah Branch to make sure that you don't put it all on the young guys, the Dylan Bells and everybody else to break through. What was the Vandy kid who was back for one more year?
London Humphreys.
Yeah. You have him back. Sokovi White. Like you could be optimistic about those guys if you're Georgia, but you want to have other competition. I mean, they brought back Nitro Tuggle for that until, the offseason incident. Now he's gone, but I mean, there was a possibility there was a roadmap to him being a factor at Georgia going into this year. But it felt like to me, Kirby was like, we're not having that happen again. We're not leading the country in drops. We're not having all the issues at receiver once again. But I also think it's important for Georgia.
I didn't even mention Dylan Bell either, who's been pretty productive too.
And it will help him that he has a whole lot whole lot less eyeballs on him if Noah Thomas, Colby Young, Zachariah Branch and company are thriving, where he can kind of hide off and be the Swiss Army knife guy that he's more comfortable being. But I think the difference this year versus the last two at Carson is the arm talent, right? Like Carson Beck can dart the ball anywhere on the field. And the theory was he's going to elevate the receivers and the tight ends, everybody around him, because he's that good. He could be the number 1 overall pick. The difference with Gunner, from what I've seen, and it seems like his play style, is he's going to be more of a like runner, ground and pound, like a physical body. He doesn't have that same level of finesse in the pocket. Like he's not going to just slice and dice people from the pocket. So he's going to need help at receiver. He's going to need big time guys who can go up and get balls and make life easier for Gunner, especially as a first year starter in the SEC. So I think that's part of it too, is that they had to be aggressive at receiver because you're breaking in a new quarterback with sky high expectations and the biggest home schedule Georgia's had in I don't even know how long.
Yeah, from like a just off field vibes, just everyone in the fan base rode in the same direction. Like I'm glad Carson Beck is gone. So it's just like, we can all stop. It can just stop being this polarizing topic for whatever reason. But I think if Carson Beck is back with this significantly upgraded receiving group, I think there's way less uncertainty in what Georgia is offensively. Like Carson Beck was just so good at layering those 15 to 25 yard throws downfield. Like I don't know that that Gunner has that sort of arm talent. So, we haven't seen he played Texas when he wasn't even supposed to be the starter, and then Notre Dame. So I think it's tough to just say we know what he can't do after a game and a half of seeing him play meaningful snaps. But your point to the running backs, from what people are saying in practice, Roderick Robinson's the 5th running back on this team. So I think there is some depth in that room. I think right now it's Nate Frazier, Bo Walker, and Cash Jones are the top 3. Josh McCray's not, he's just, I think he's supposed to be back ready for the season, but he's not practicing currently. Some sort of injury. But I think he's supposed to be healthy. And then Chauncey Bowens is the other. Is he a sophomore? He's a redshirt freshman or a sophomore that's been creating a buzz too. So Roderick Robinson, we've seen little flashes of what he can do. And obviously he's big time coming out of high school, but I think Georgia's far from relying on him in 2025.
Yeah. The other Georgia thing here, Matt Green, I was listening to the Solid Verbal guys who do a great job over there on the college football podcast front. They had Josh Pate on last week. They went on Josh Pate's show. Highly encourage folks to go check out both episodes. They were, I thought, pretty great on both ends, and big fans of both shows, Matt Green. But one of the things when they were doing their SEC previews, I was doing my afternoon stroll around the neighborhood, catching up on my pods. One of the things that I thought was interesting when they talked about Georgia was about Mike Bobo. And I think it was Dan who made the comment about, not being sure, talking about the drop off from Monken to Bobo and not being sure Bobo can never win a national championship as Georgia's OC. And that was something that I was curious from your vantage point, and apologies for not getting, I don't have the exact quote right in front of me, but that was essentially the topic of just, and that's something I imagine Georgia fans wrestle with too, is that Todd Monken won 2 national titles. And I think he was indisputably the best play caller in college football for several years while he was here. He goes to the NFL and is doing a great job with the Baltimore Ravens. So he's cooking wherever it is, whether it's at the NFL level, the college level. So there was always going to be a downgrade. And I think that's fair. And I think Georgia fans sometimes get a little bit anxious when you say downgrade because, look, Bobo, as you defended over the years, still a lot of great elite offenses, but it's also one of those where he is not Todd Monken. Todd Monken was a better offensive coordinator, but there were a lot of concerns early on. It was not a smooth transition for Todd Monken under Kirby Smart early on at Georgia. And Kirby eventually, it seemed let him cook and developed just a juggernaut of an offense. But last year was a struggle, but I just don't know how much of it was Bobo and how much of it was just personnel. Because the offensive line struggled. I don't know if I'm going to put that on Mike Bobo, that the offensive line had one of its worst years in a long time. Obviously, not being able to run the football was just weird for the history of Georgia, but it's also you look at the bodies. I mean, they were banged up in a major way. The Robinsons weren't available. You were having to rely on a really young player.
ETN missed multiple games.
Yeah. So to me, I'm like, I don't know how much you put on that on Bobo with the injuries. Carson Beck basically got the yips in the middle of the year. I don't know how much you could put that on Bobo in that scenario. The receivers drops. Like, I don't think that's Bobo's fault that these guys are leading the country in drops. So I do think it's convenient to place a lot of blame on Bobo right now. But ultimately, I don't know. I do think it's interesting. There does seem to be that never-ending question as to whether or not Georgia can win the big one with Mike Bobo as their offensive coordinator. But have you swayed from that at all, or do you still believe that Mike Bobo can absolutely be Georgia's offensive coordinator when they win their next national title?
Yeah, I mean, I don't question it for a second. I think he wouldn't have the job if Kirby Smart didn't think he could win a national championship as the offensive coordinator. Like, and that's what's like Alabama, I guess, and other great teams have dealt with this, like constantly being compared to past teams and things like that. It's like, okay, well, for 2017 Bama to win the championship, they don't have to be as good as 2012 Bama. Like, they can be as good as any of the teams that year. So it's like, yeah, Mike Bobo doesn't have to be as good. I would say right now, no offensive coordinator in college football is as good of a offensive coordinator as Todd Monken. Like, I don't know if that's a hot take, but I think he's the best. He might be the best offensive coordinator in the NFL right now. So just because it's a downgrade from Monken, like, would I trade Mike Bobo for Monken right now? Hell yeah. Like, I would do it in a second, but you don't have that option. Like, and speaking of smooth transition, like, it's like everyone just forgot that Bobo was the offensive coordinator in 2023, where Georgia was 5th in the country in points per game. The quarterback led the conference and almost threw for 4,000 yards, like 28 touchdowns, I think. Like, and then for some reason it's all, oh, well, that's because he had Bowers and McConkey, as if every other great offense doesn't have great playmakers. Like, as if Mac Jones didn't have like 4 first-round picks on his offense. Like, it's very odd the way it's talked about. And then you also talk about the fact that McConkey missed like 6 games in 2023 and Bowers missed like another 4 or 5 games in 2023. And the offense was still as good as it was. So no, I think there were so many games like where it was just dialed up. Like, I think literally the first offensive play of the Alabama and Tennessee games were 40, 50-yard bombs downfield that were dropped. Like, but like this idea that Kirby Smart is like preventing Mike Bobo, the offensive coordinator. Oh, every time the offense struggles, it's, oh, Kirby Smart doesn't want the offense to be too open, or like, it's so weird. We don't talk about any other coach like this. Like, Kirby Smart wants the offense to score every single time they have the ball. Like, what else would he want? Like, it's very odd. Georgia couldn't run the ball. Georgia couldn't catch the ball a year ago. And their quarterback, if you don't count bowl game stats, because Beck didn't play in a bowl game, so if you don't count anyone else's bowl game stats, Beck also led the SEC in touchdowns last year too. So it's just very odd that Stetson leads the SEC in passing yards in 2022. Carson leads in 2023. Carson leads in touchdowns in 2024. Like, this offense is opened up. The drops were unprecedented, and it's like no one truly calculates the drops. Someone did at least calculate like the drop yardage, but it's like you can't calculate the intangibles of drops. For one, just how many drives, a 3rd and 5, you drop a 12-yard completion, now it's a punt. Like, it's just the way it just has what am I trying to say? Exponential effect on just, yeah, it didn't keep the drive alive. You didn't score points. You probably, maybe it's 2nd and 11 and you drop a 15-yard pass, 20-yard pass. Now it's 3rd and 11 and maybe Carson's forcing it and throws a pick. It's like just how it multiplies. Like, I probably sound like a Carson Beck apologist, but it's just so weird to me how much of the Georgia fan base blames the best player on the team for winning the SEC last year. Like, it's the strangest thing. Like, oh, we didn't have leadership from the quarterback. It's like, I don't know what to tell you. The team had like 5 or 6 losable games last year, and they were like super gritty, and it was a year where it didn't seem like Georgia was very good, and they won the SEC, and they couldn't run the ball. They couldn't catch the ball, and the quarterbacks leading the conference in touchdowns. Like, it was such a weird season. Didn't have an elite defense either. it's such a weird season for everything to play out the way it did and to be like, yeah, that was definitely Carson Beck and Mike Bobo's fault. Like, I don't know. It's just, unfortunately, a large, and Twitter's not a real place, so you never know what the real number is. But it feels like a large percentage of the Georgia fan base feels that way.
Big year for Mike Bobo and the Georgia Bulldogs offensively in 2025. So we'll see on that regard, Matt Green. It's also a big year for the quarterbacks at the University of Tennessee. And one of the more interesting things that has come out over the last, I guess, week or so is that true freshman 4-star George MacIntyre has had a good week. And Josh Heupel came out yesterday following Tennessee's first fall camp scrimmage and basically alluded to them not shrinking this competition, that this was not even going to be down to just two guys, with redshirt freshman Jake Merklinger and super senior Joey Aguilar, where nobody separated themselves on Saturday. So this is still a battle, but also true freshman George MacIntyre, who's still got to put on a lot more weight here to get through an entire SEC football season. But it is growingly interesting. If you go to any VolQuest message board right now, the biggest conversation right now is like, should we just roll with GMAC? If they haven't had Merklinger or Aguilar win this job outright, just go with the highest upside true freshman and see what you have there. I'm not there yet. And I still think it would be, as of this taping late on a Sunday night, I would be very surprised if it's not Joey Aguilar under center week 1 against Syracuse, especially with how the camp has gone thus far, where Jake's going to have to really make a move here as a guy who's significantly younger still as a redshirt freshman than Joey Aguilar, even with the extra year in the system and Joey being a late addition. I still think, given all the circumstances, given the fact that you have multiple starting receivers who did not scrimmage on Saturday, you haven't had one-year starting receivers, Chris Brazzell, the entire fall camp, and you're a lone upperclassman there. I mean, there's a scenario where Tennessee might be trotting out a true freshman at one of their starting receiver spots going up against the Syracuse Orangemen on Saturday at noon inside Mercedes-Benz. So they got to get healthy at receiver in a hurry. They're being extra cautious, which I understand, but I do think it's interesting, the conversation when it comes to GMAC, because you have Faison Brandon coming in, right? And he's the 5-star, potentially number 1 overall quarterback recruit, depending on who you talk to, who you look at, out of Grimsley. Super talented guy. Higher upside, and seems like a better fit than even Nico Imaliava was at the time. That being said, if you roll with GMAC, if you throw him out there and he connects, it's like, what does that mean for Faison? What does that mean for his future at Tennessee if GMAC does get the job, or you give it to him outright? That's why I don't think there's any... part of it is just he's a true freshman. The other part is just he's got to put on more weight. The other part is there's no rush to throw him on the field right now, because if he wins the job in December going into 2026 and it's a battle between him and Faison, he's a redshirt freshman, you bring in, let's say, another transfer or whatever, then you roll with him, then he's got another year in the system, a whole lot more weight put on, like you feel a lot more comfortable. But you also could throw him out later in the season, right? Like you could throw him, he doesn't have to start right away. Like, yes, it would be nice to get the reps and all that, but you could always, if things go awry with Joey Aguilar or Jake Merklinger or whatever, injuries mount up, whatever, then you could always go to GMAC later in the year. That's one you don't have to try now, even if you think he might be the best of the 3. And who knows, GMAC might end up being the best of the 3. I do think it's probably slightly concerning that it's August 10th and we're talking about George MacIntyre not leaving this race. I mean, it's good for George MacIntyre and probably good for Tennessee long-term that he's flashing like this. But you would, I think, had hoped that Tennessee would have had a little bit of separation at quarterback in their first fall scrimmage here on Saturday, and it doesn't seem like that is the storyline coming out of this race. But the fact we have multiple Vol reporters talking about just the what's interesting about George MacIntyre just not giving up in this race, that George MacIntyre is not moving away, and that this is still he's kind of like this, the ultimate underdog, and it'd be the ultimate upset if George MacIntyre is quarterback 1 against Syracuse. But I do think it says to me that we're going to see multiple starting quarterbacks for Tennessee this year. And it's just not great that multiple receivers have been out while you're trying to build this timing, trying to build this rhythm. My guess is this Tennessee offense is going to look pretty ugly against Syracuse in the opener just because of who's been in and out of fall camp and how much chemistry Joey Aguilar and the receivers have had and Jake Merklinger have had to really work with one another. And I don't know. I think it's going to be kind of like NFL model where because Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins did not play in that first Falcons preseason game, and they don't treat it like a true preseason anymore and get the warm-up stuff. They just don't even play. So the first couple of the regular season games is the real preseason in the NFL because that's when they work off the rust, is those first couple of weeks of the actual regular season. I think that's what you're going to see.
Have preseason
exactly,
games,
but that's a conversation for another day. But the point is, like, that's what you're, I think, going to see with Tennessee football is you're going to see they're just going to have to figure this out on the fly and build chemistry as the season goes on. Because I think time's running out in terms of fall camp. They have another scrimmage here on Friday, but then you got to get into game week prep the following week. So you got 2 weeks now to really nail this down before you have to like really know where you're going, where you're heading. You need guys on the field. It's just, I don't see the passing game starting off all that fun. I think the tight ends are legit. I think Tennessee has a 2 deep at tight end. That's one of the best in the SEC. I think higher upside than Georgia right now in terms of their tight ends with Miles Kitzelman, Ethan Davis, Desan Brame, and Jack Van Dorselaer. I also think that the fact that Star Thomas is flashing here over the weekend in fall camp and him being an almost 1,000-yard rusher at Duke, him being your third guy, kind of in that Trevor Etienne late edition where he's just a competent, good running back, but he's your third guy. Tennessee's going to be able to run the ball down people's throats. Like the combination of Peyton Lewis, Deshaun Bishop, and Star Thomas. I'm very bullish on Tennessee's offensive line, Tennessee's tight ends, and Tennessee's running backs running it down people's throat to a much more aggressive, offensive way than what we even saw last year with Dylan Sampson as the bell cow. Like it's going to be a lot more ground dependent. The receiving game, they're just out of bodies, man. Like they're just so low. They've been practicing with 5 scholarship guys for a lot of this fall camp, and now you're like trying to talk yourself into true freshman George MacIntyre as QB1 out of the gate, and you're like, okay, this is it's. I've just resounded. I think it's gonna be ugly. This passing game is gonna be ugly for a while.
You were going on the weave there for a minute, but you at least brought it back. You brought it back to quarterback.
Yeah.
But I think George MacIntyre, putting my conspiracy theory hat on, I kind of think this is just talk. Like this is what everyone's doing now. Like you saw, I don't know who said it, but like now there's reports like Julian saying like, he might not be the clear starter. We got a competition here. We're keeping everybody happy. So you don't try to transfer. You don't already just check out when the season starts because you're not the starter. Like, oh no, we got a legit competition. You work hard. You could be the starter next year. Like, I think it's kind of lip service that we like, it's really a competition. Everybody's in it, or it's a really bad sign and Tennessee has no idea what they're going to do for all 3 guys. But I think as someone who thought it was going to be Merklinger, yourself, I don't think you ever thought Merklinger was going to start the opener. So I think it always had to be Aguilar to start the Syracuse game. And then, maybe Syracuse is an ugly win or something. And then by the Georgia game, maybe the offensive performance looks really bad and you switch up the quarterback or something like that. Or maybe they beat Georgia. I'm not saying it's a foregone conclusion. But I think it just didn't feel like with the experience factor that there would ever be like Merklinger would have had to truly be like just head and shoulders better. Like you go out and sign Matt Flynn and draft Russell Wilson the same year. It's like that competition didn't even make it to the season. Like Russell Wilson's like, oh yeah, this guy's way better. I think the experience more times than not is gonna be the guy starting the first game, unless it's just head and shoulders difference in practice.
Yeah, my gut is we see Joey Aguilar, but I also just I don't think there's a strong chance that Joey Aguilar is the quarterback for all 12 regular season games. But the big upset might be that George is the one who they go to after Aguilar, if Aguilar falters and they don't go to Merck. That might be the change and upset where the guy that we thought they would go to if Aguilar slips and doesn't handle the job, they would just go to Merck. And I'm a big Merklinger guy, but they might go to MacIntyre. And that just might be the deal is MacIntyre, you might try him instead. He might jump Merklinger over the next couple of weeks. It's interesting, but it's a big time battle. But it's kind of a positive. Iron sharpens iron. There's a lot of competition. Guys are working hard, trying to establish their footing in their the right spot in the pecking order. But man, there just seems like there's so much unsettled there going into week 3 of fall camp, and it's August 10th, man. And it's just a little uneasy where you're just the receivers being banged up and the quarterback controversy, I shouldn't say controversy, competition is still very much up in the air. You just don't feel great going into the college football regular season here in 3 weeks.
Yeah, I feel you there. And I'll say this is a completely vibes-based just anecdote here. Jake Merklinger just sounds like the name of a guy who plays for like 3 different SEC schools, a Zach Calzada or something that like has like 8 career starts, plays for like 3 different teams in 5 years. I don't know. No disrespect. I mean, I intend no disrespect by that, but it's just the name.
I just want one of these guys to be really good, and it'd be awesome for Tennessee. Like the best case scenario is Joey Aguilar being able to win this job and then just being a great 1-year hit, like that's the great, like have a great 1-year blip, get Tennessee to 9-3, bring back some fun passing offense, and just
is
get
Aguilar
to the
a senior. I thought he had 2 years left.
He might have 2 years left, but I know he's a senior. He just graduated from, I think, App State. So he's definitely, he's a grad transfer.
Speaking of grads, your Gunnar Stockton just graduated?
Yeah, Joey Aguilar's 24.
Less than 4 years? Okay.
Yeah. So I do not think he would be back for 1 more year. I think
he's winning that job.
Yeah.
Can he hold on to it? That's the
Think
question.
about how big of a jump that is, because guess what? When was Hendon Hooker was 24 when he went off for Tennessee in year 2. So older quarterbacks, generally speaking, have a lot better of time here. And there's a big difference between experience in terms of a 24-year-old and a 19 and an 18-year-old, which is the competition going on right now.
I'll also say this. I'm just shooting from the hip here. Milton and Nico only had 1 year in the system or as the starter, right?
Well, Milton started in 2021. He won the job in fall camp in 21. And he started the first, 2 games? And then he got hurt.
A couple games, right?
Yes, and then he got hurt, and then Hendon Hooker took it over and never gave the job back. But Milton did win the job in 2021 out of fall camp.
But maybe there's something to being in Heupel's system for a second year. Like maybe
Milton was in there 3 years.
No, I just mean actually being the starter for a second year. Like this is now the third straight year with a guy who's in this first year starting at Tennessee.
4th new quarterback in 4 years too.
4th new quarterback? Well,
yeah, Hooker to Milton to Nico to Aguilar.
But Hooker had 2 years.
No. I'm just saying it's just 4 straight years of a different quarterback.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you'll probably have 5 going into next year, unless it is Merklinger or MacIntyre who are able to win the job. I just want the best guy to win it, and Tennessee's passing game to be competent and fun again for the first time since 2022. Big Ten preview, part 2, Matt Green. As you know, 5 minutes per team here. We got 9 left on the Big Ten front. We'll do the SEC part 1 later this week, and then we'll do SEC part 2 on Sunday. And we'll be in week 0 preview season next Wednesday as well. So it's go time, Matt Green. College football is almost here. Let's wrap up starting with Ohio State, Matt Green. Over under 10.5. So there's a lot of interesting things about Ohio State right now. And this is probably for the Ohio State fans who tune into this portion of the podcast. 2 things can be true. Ohio State could have, in my estimation, a terrible offseason. And also just they have such a crazy high floor where you have to go back and look at their history. Matt Green, they've won less than double-digit games in a season once outside of the COVID season of like the last 20 years. Something bonkers like that. And you go through it, it's just double-digit win seasons. Outside of the COVID years, you're like, when was the last stinking non-double-digit win season for Ohio State? So even though I'm really out on promoting Brian Hartline to play caller and offensive coordinator, even though I'm very much out on hiring Matt Patricia to replace maybe the best defensive coordinator in college football and Jim Knowles, I think they whiffed on the coordinator market. I think it's a problem. But you also look at the blue chip ratio. They're 89% this year, Matt Green. They were 90% last year when they won the national title. So they still have an obscene level of talent, blue chip talent. The majority of the roster, not for every 9 to 10 players, they're a blue chip player at Ohio State this fall. And that's with coordinator issues that I still do not think will go well. They have a new quarterback, new offensive line coach. They lost their 2 top tailbacks from a season ago. I have so many questions about this Ohio State team, but they have so many answers. I mean, the receivers, they are elite in terms of Cardell Tate and company and what they have at wideout. Like, they should be okay there. But I have real questions about the offensive line. I have real questions about what this running game is going to look like. I have real questions about Julian Sand as a redshirt freshman. Is he going to be able? That's a huge jump from Will Howard, big-time veteran. You saw what Kyle McCord did in his early years at Ohio State. Like, it was not easy of a transition. So I can have a lot of doom and gloom about the Buckeyes in 2025. And I just think there's no chance I think they can win the national title with the coordinator decisions that Ryan Day made. But it's also like they just got a lot younger and a lot more inexperienced to me versus what we saw last year. But I still think their floor is high. But 10.5, I struggle with it, Matt Green, because 10.5 is still really, really high. I think I'm going under. I don't love this schedule for the Buckeyes either. I'm going 10-2. I'm not going to be the one who goes, hey, they're not going to win double-digit games for the first time in forever outside of the COVID year. But, I mean, Texas, right out of the gate, I think Texas should win that football game. And then all you need is one more loss. They haven't beat Michigan in 4 years. So that one is a see it to believe it. So that's 2 right there. They still go to Illinois. They go to Washington, Matt Green, where you and I, like, Washington has the second longest home streak in college football. So they're traveling to UW. And will they break that streak? I don't know. But Penn State at home, that's a huge potential loss for Ohio State. Penn State's right there. You still go to Michigan. This is not a great schedule for Ohio State. I think worst case scenario, it's still with how much talent they have, it's 9-3. But I think 9-3 is on the table more so than it's been in a while. But I'm still going to go 10-2, and they win a couple games that I'm still kind of raising an eyebrow at. But I don't think it's going to be a great year for Ohio State. And I think they're going to be a borderline playoff team. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think I don't disagree with a lot of what you said there. You know, Jeremiah Smith, I think, is the best player in college football. Right. So that's obviously helpful for any team. But it's obviously an entire team. And also what I think gets lost from a lot of people because they won the national championship was 2024 was the worst regular season of Ryan Day's career. Like, with a loaded team, with this $20 million roster, right? Like, it was a tough schedule. It was maybe the toughest schedule in the Big Ten. They did play all the good teams in the Big Ten, all the other good teams in the Big Ten. And not everyone else did, but they lost to Oregon, a super close game. Like, no shade about losing, but Ohio State just doesn't lose very often. You know, the bar for Ryan Day's worst season is very high, but you lose to an Oregon team, was number 1 team in the country when the season ended, when the regular season ended. And then you have a bad loss to a mediocre Michigan team for the 4th year in a row to also, like, it's just, it was the worst regular season that Ryan Day has ever had. So if they're not, like, it's very reasonable to think they won't be as good as they were a year ago. Maybe Julian Sand is just as good as Will Howard. Maybe he's as good as CJ Stroud and they don't miss a beat. And Jeremiah Smith is an alien, so they have the best offense in the country. Like, that's definitely possible. I feel like maybe this is an exaggeration because Brian Hartline hasn't been there like forever or anything, but and people are their own people, right? Like, just because one guy does something doesn't mean another guy will do something. But like, James Coley is a guy who gets highly touted for how good of a recruiter he is and at the receiver position, and he's had multiple stints as an offensive coordinator and it went terribly. Like, Brian Hartline has been the best receiver coach in college football for the last basically decade. We don't know that this guy is a good play caller at all. Like, he's been, under Ryan Day, and Ryan Day's had really good offenses. I'm sure it's going to be similar, but there's reason to worry about that aspect of it too, along with having a true freshman core. Wait, no, Saban's a redshirt freshman, a redshirt freshman at quarterback as well. Wait, yeah. He was committed to Saban. So yeah, redshirt freshman quarterback. Like, I think there's reason to think. I think this team loses one conference game. So I think the Texas game almost decides whether they go over or under. So, and Texas is coming in, I think, in a much more this is the year mindset than Ohio State is in 2025. Not that Ohio State every year can't be the year for Ohio State. They're just ridiculously loaded every year. But I think that Texas game in the opener, I'd have a hard time seeing them lose that one. and then just running the table going 11-0. Like, we'll get to Penn State and everything. And obviously they have to beat Michigan. They've lost 4 years in a row. I don't know if I'm going to be the one to bet that they do it this year in Ann Arbor. So I think I'm with you. I think this team goes 10-2 and is probably in the playoff again as the 8 or 9 seed.
I did not think we would both go under here.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that either.
I'm
with you though. The schedule, and like Illinois, this is kind of like their year, like that they're circling, and that's going to be their damn Super Bowl on October 11th. They could be 4-0, 5-0 when Ohio State comes to town. Like, it's just, they're always getting everyone's best shot, but with how much hype there is around Penn State, the Texas game, as well as Michigan, that Michigan losing to Michigan every year doesn't mean nothing. Like, they have to win that game. They've been more talented more times than not. I guess there's a year Michigan led the country in draft picks. So the 2023 team is probably more talented than Ohio State, but we know how loaded Ohio State is every year. Like, Ohio State is significantly higher in the blue chip ratio and the recruiting rankings than Michigan year in, year out. Like, for whatever that's worth, but Michigan's still got it done 4 years in a row. So that's the ultimate kind of albatross sitting out there. But I would be shocked if they missed the playoff.
Michigan could be the game that keeps them out. That would be sweet, because we talked about it last year. That didn't keep them out. Obviously, Ohio State still got in, but this schedule is a lot worse for Ohio State. They could come in absolutely with 2 losses and have to beat Michigan to get in.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm not going to rehash my whole take about like 2024 being like the least satisfying college football season I can ever remember. But that's another one of the things, like that Michigan win, or loss, I should say, like that's a season ender. Like, that's like an absolute, like, and then your rival beats you, and then you lost your chance to go to the championship, to play for a championship. Like, the fact that loss didn't mean anything to Ohio State ultimately is just like, that's not what college football is about. Like, it's a bummer to me.
It might mean something this year, though, Matt Green. It might mean
they
something
already have 2 losses going into Ann Arbor.
Very much in play with their schedule.
Yeah.
Oregon 10.5. Matt Green, what say you?
The Oregon Ducks. So Dante Moore started 5 games for UCLA in 2023 before transferring to Oregon last year. That's so much of their season, I feel like, is going to hinge on Dante Moore. He was 5-star, a big time. Like, his year at UCLA, you can call it whatever you want. Like, I don't hold guys to necessarily their freshman season. We see a lot of upgrades from quarterbacks from their true freshman season on. But Evan Stewart, as of like, I think a month ago, tore his ACL. So I think he's out for the year. Like, that's massive. I feel like I expected him to kind of have a bigger year than he did last season. Even though he was good, from what he was flashed at times at Texas A&M, I was kind of expecting him to be the next superstar. So I was still expecting Evan Stewart to kind of have that breakout year. So for him to be missing this 2025 season, I think is big. But yeah, look at their schedule. They go at Penn State, and then Iowa and at Washington this year. Like, I think there's two preseason ranked teams on this team's schedule right now. I think the other one Indiana, I want to say.
Yes.
Yeah. Indiana.
Iowa. I guess Iowa's not ranked.
I don't believe so. I guess I'm basing it off this FBS schedules. They put a number next to them now that I think about it. I don't know if those rankings are even accurate. But I mean, looking at it, I don't think Iowa's ranked. If they are, they're maybe 24 or 25 or something. But yeah, they go at Penn State September 27th, and then a bye week in Indiana. It's like, it feels like that's their whole season, like those 2 games. And like, I mean, obviously there's going to be other going at Iowa, and what we talked about Washington's home record, home winning streak and everything. But I don't know. I just think Oregon's just gonna be way more talented than every team on their schedule this year, minus maybe Penn State, but they might be more talented than Penn State. They obviously beat them in the Big Ten championship a year ago. I would just be surprised if this team loses 2 games. So I'm going to go over. I think they go 11-1.
11 we disagree here. I'm going under. I think they are going to have a very clean schedule this year where they just win all the games they should, especially at home. They probably go undefeated at home in my estimation, but I don't think they win at Penn State. That's a night game in Happy Valley. They're going to be rocking in Nittany Lion Country.
Who else shouldn't they win?
So I think they split Iowa on the road and at Washington. Washington has not lost a home game since 20? We were looking it up on our last show. Washington has the second longest, 20 game home win streak?
Yeah, I think 2021, I think was their last loss at home.
So I don't know, man. I'm not picking them to be able to go in. I'm very high on Iowa, and we talked about it on Big Ten Preview Part 1, that I think Iowa is going to be right there in the CFP conversation. I think they're going to be the fourth CFP team for the Big Ten. I don't think Oregon's beating both Iowa and Washington on the road down the stretch. I think they drop one of them, and I think that gets them to 10-2. Still a playoff team. I still have Iowa or Oregon in there. Oregon's replacing a lot, man. I just also have no idea if Dante Moore's good. He was not good his true freshman season at UCLA, and they threw him out there, and that was kind of a different circumstance. He was able to sit and learn this past year at Oregon. We have no idea what he's going to be like. You lost Evan Stewart potentially for the season. We'll see if they get him back at wide receiver. I don't know, man. They're starting a left tackle from Nevada. Like, he was really good transfer portal addition, but it's a big jump up from Nevada to the top of the Big Ten. So I don't know. I'm still bullish on them.
How many teams are they playing from the top of the Big Ten? That's the only thing. Like,
I mean, Penn State Iowa, for sure.
Yeah, Penn State for sure. Like Indiana, I don't know that Indiana's at the top of the Big Ten again. Like, they could be.
I mean, I think Iowa will be somewhere in that top 5. And then I also think USC, who we'll get to, I'm pretty bullish on them too. I think we'll get to USC. There's a lot of stuff you have to dive into the nitty gritty with the Trojans to understand that they're a lot closer than folks might think.
Yeah, I could see that. But we'll see. At Penn State, that's going to be one of the biggest games. Like, if there's one game you can just guarantee is going to be College Game Day this year, I think Oregon at Penn State last weekend of September is going to be. Although, is that the same week as Georgia Alabama?
It's a good question.
I think because of that Georgia schedule, you have Texas later. Maybe you hold out get a different Georgia game. I think that's kind of the game, the regular season game of the year in the Big Ten is Oregon versus Penn State, because Ohio State does play. Yeah, because Ohio State doesn't play Penn State, right?
Wait, say that one more time.
Ohio State does play Penn State. They don't play Oregon.
Yes.
So like those are the two games of the year in the Big Ten this year: Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon, Penn State.
I would also say Michigan, Ohio State with Michigan at home.
That's fair. That's always big.
Penn State, the other 10.5 over under here, Matt Green. You know what's interesting? 3 10.5 over unders in the Big Ten, 0 10.5 in the SEC. Highest you'll find is 9.5.
Just means more.
Yeah. Penn State. It's what I would want to start with this conversation. I had this conversation, I forgot who it was the other day, but it was to make the point that if you put Katron Allen, Nick Singleton, Drew Aller, Trevor Pena, Hudson, Ross, the Penn State offensive line, the DDE edge rusher, AJ Harris, LeVar Arrington Jr., all the different talented guys, Jim Knowles and Andy Koltanecki, I can't pronounce his last name, the formerly of Kansas, big-time offensive coordinator, one of the best offensive coordinators in the sport, back for another year in Happy Valley. If you just told any college football fan that was the roster, that was the coaching staff, and you didn't tell them the head coach, and you just told them that is what you're working with going into 2025, and you put those coordinators and that roster on Ohio State, on Oregon, at Georgia, at Texas, or at Michigan, there would be no question nationally that this is the best team in college football going into the year. Oh yeah, that team should win the college football national championship. That's an absolutely loaded roster. That's pretty crazy. Oh, they were doing the Ohio State thing with Judkins and Henderson all over again with Allen and Singleton. Oh, they went out and spent big in the portal at receiver. They got Syracuse leading receiver. They got Kyron Hudson. They got the Troy's leading receiver in the slot. They went out and Drew Aller is back for his final potential season in Happy Valley. They have one of the 10 best defenses. They went out and paid the highest defensive coordinator salary in college football history, I believe, for Jim Knowles. Yeah, I'm going to bet on them to win a national championship. I think that's probably the best bet. But James Franklin is not going to get that preseason buzz where I've seen multiple polls put them somewhere in the top 5, but nobody wants to put their name as number 1 overall Penn State going into the year. But I'm like, I don't think there's really an argument. I think everyone's just lying to themselves when they're pushing Texas ahead of them, pushing Georgia ahead of them, pushing Ohio State ahead of them. I understand the James Franklin just curiosity, but this is a team that made the Final Four last year, Matt Green. It's not like they got upset and it was like a train wreck last year. They really had nothing at receiver, and they still advanced to the Final Four. They still played really well. They still have one of the best defense.
That Final Four. That's the question.
The point is, James Franklin has won a whole heck of a lot of games at Penn State. He's one of the 10 best coaches in college football, somewhere in that mix. But there's also only 3 active head coaches that have won national championships to this point. It's just Dabo, Ryan Day, and Kirby, right? Is there anybody else?
I believe so. Yeah.
So
no
we hold them. Yeah, and it's just I would not be at all surprised if James Franklin follows the Ryan Day suit and wins a national title this year. I think Penn State is the best team in the Big Ten. I think they're the best preseason team as a whole. They've taken this offseason more seriously than anybody else in college football. They're gearing up for this to be their year. It's kind of open with where Ohio State and Oregon are at kind of right now behind them. The SEC really just beating themselves up with 9.5 over-unders, new quarterbacks with Arch and Gunner, all kinds of questions there. Who knows if Clemson can put it all together in the ACC? They were the last team to win outside the Power 2. Now it's almost pushing a decade ago, Matt Green. I just think it's Penn State. And I'm not declaring that they're actually going to win it all, but they have the look and feel of a team that should win it all. And I think that's the most interesting part of all of this offseason is like, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills because I just look around. I'm like, yeah, what are we doing? Penn State should win the national title. If they don't win the national title this year, or at least make the national championship game, it's a huge disappointment. This is an elite roster and elite coaching staff.
Well, I disagree with that they are under the most pressure of any team in all of college football this year because it really does feel like if not now, when?
Yes.
But I mean, look at what this team was a year ago. Like, who were the best teams they beat last year? Who's the best team they beat last year? Boise State? SMU? Like, are those the two? Like, they played one good team in the regular season. The other ranked team they beat in the regular season was Illinois. Like, not just disrespecting Illinois. They were fine. But, like, they beat Illinois 21-7. They basically stomped out every other team in the Big Ten they played. But Illinois was a close game, and they lost to Ohio State. They lost to Oregon, and the offense just didn't show up at all against Ohio State. Like, they got absolutely shackled. Like, and then they get the absolute easiest path to the playoffs to get SMU and Boise State. Like, they're part of the reason last year was so unsatisfying because they got all the way to the Final Four without beating one team that I respect, without being one team that like national college football fans respect. Like, it's kind of crazy. I feel like we're doing the same thing with Penn State that we're doing to Clemson, that we're just forgetting this team was like kind of average most of the season. Clemson like basically lost to every decent team they played. I think Penn State's in that same tier. I think they're a tier higher than Clemson, but they've mastered winning the games you should win and losing to everybody else. And I have no reason to think this year that won't be the same thing. Like, do you think Drew Aller is good? Like, he's returning, like he has experience, but I don't think he's a good quarterback. Like, I think if he's the best quarterback in college football, this is the worst year of quarterbacks for college football I've ever seen.
Well, I don't think it matters. I mean, you saw Will Howard won last year with a 90% blue chip ratio and elite talent around him. If the receivers are a whole lot better than what he had last year, I think the receivers were terrible last year for Drew Aller. So I want to see what that looks like with Pena, with Hudson, and with Ross as his trio. I'm curious what that ultimately looks like because I think they upgrade in a major way at receiver. I want to see what that looks like. And I also just think having that dual threat of 5-star tailbacks behind him is going to be huge. And remember, they were only a field goal away from Notre Dame. Like, they still pushed Notre Dame, who made the national championship game. It wasn't like they got blown out in that game. I do wonder. I mean, last year, would you have taken Penn State or Georgia in Notre Dame spot in New Orleans?
I mean, I think there would have been similar games. I think Georgia playing without Beck, I think was going to be what it was going to be. So I
would
think
you be
Notre
surprised,
Dame,
or would your feelings be different at all if you had lost to Penn State in that spot? About Penn State in 20?
No, I feel like feel the exact same way about both of those teams, honestly. Like, they're very evenly matched. And not to just keep hating on everyone last year, but it's like Notre Dame, another one, beat Indiana, and like the Georgia win is obviously a good win, but without Carson Beck, like it was fortunate the draw they got. The year they lost to Northern Illinois, they're playing for a national championship. Like a very weird season. I just like, also along the lines of their playmakers, Tyler Warren was the best playmaker on this team a year ago. Like he's in the NFL now. So the running back duo is definitely good. When does Penn State not lose 2 games is the question. Like, you got to go back to 2008, the last time they didn't lose at least 2 games. Like, even the year that they won the Big Ten and had one Big Ten regular season loss, they got tripped up and lost to Pitt early in that season. So, like, Penn State loses 2 games, and until they don't lose 2 games, I'm just going to assume they're going to lose 2 games. I guess last year they lost 1 regular season game, didn't they? They lost the second one in the Big Ten championship. Now, am I negating my whole point here? They did go 11-1 in the regular season, then lost to Oregon, but I think they have a more challenging schedule this year, and they have now 2 toss-up games with teams with equal or so talent as them, or at least in the same general talent pool. And it remains to be seen if they can beat those teams.
For sure. It remains to be seen. I'm not guaranteeing anything. I just think they should be going into the year as the favorite. So I'm going to hit the over for 10.5.
I
think
understand them being the favorite in terms of what they return and everything. I just give me 10 win the properly rated Penn State Nittany Lions. And to be fair, 14 people did put their name on it and put them number 1 in the coaches poll. So
right.
We'll see. I think the AP poll will come out by the time everyone's listening to this on Monday. So I'm sure they'll have a handful of AP first place votes somewhere in the preseason top 5.
So are you going under or over 10.5?
I'm going under.
Okay. I'm going over.
10-2 State. I don't know. 10 win State. I was trying to Penn State, 10 State. I was trying to do something there. It didn't work, but you get it.
Hating hard. Purdue, Matt Green, 3.5 right there at the bottom of the Big Ten. Barry Odom in. What say you about the Boilermakers?
The Boilermakers bringing in 54 transfers this year. I don't know if that's the most in the Power 4, but I think it is. 8 of those from UNLV, actually 3 of them from Georgia. They're up to like 5 or 6 guys, I think, on their roster, former Georgia Bulldogs. Barry Odom had some success at UNLV. I think they're looking at 3-5. They have Ball State and Southern Illinois, the Salukis, out of conference. So they just need to find 2 wins in the conference. And obviously they didn't find any a year ago, right? They went 1-11. Is that right?
Yes.
So it's not a guarantee that they find those 2 wins, but I just think with how much change they've had, I don't know. I tend to give the benefit of the doubt to Barry Odom, whether or not that's right or wrong. Who they say they beat Indiana State 49-0 in the opener and then lost 11 straight games. I tend to think they'll win too. Who else they lose in non-conference? They lost to Notre Dame and Oregon State. Yeah, give me the over. Give me the Purdue Boilermakers going 4-8, 5-7 or something. Not getting to a bowl game, but over that 3.5.
That's interesting. I'm going over too. Barry Odom's a good coach, and I think that's a good hire. Walters was a good defensive coordinator, just not a good head coach, and that didn't work out. But Barry Odom, I do think, that UNLV team was really good. That's a hard job, and obviously it didn't end the way he wanted it to at Mizzou, but it wasn't like it fell off the deep end. It was still 6-6 in his final year. He finished 25-25 there, but he won 19 games in 2 years at UNLV and 44-33 as a whole. I don't know. I'm very bullish. He hires John Henson as his offensive coordinator, who has been with Lincoln as his OC the last 3 years. So I think that could be a sneaky important addition for them. And like you said, Nitro Tuggle is there, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And DB too, I want to say.
From last year, Denylon Morissette is a receiver that they had. And then CJ Smith, I think, is another receiver. Oh, there's another DB that ended up at Purdue. I can't remember who. Marcus Easley is the offensive lineman that ended
Nyland Green.
Nyland Green, there you go.
Yeah.
Had that was part of that amazing punt against Tennessee back in 2022, pinned inside the one. That was Nyland Green's claim to fame in his Georgia career, which I don't even think he actually was his claim to fame. I don't think he got his hands. I think that ball was going out on the one, but the hustle, you got to respect the hustle. But yeah,
I'm going over
they
too.
got a handful.
I'm going over too. I think in this schedule, it's not terrible for a first-year schedule. At Northwestern, I think it's very winnable. I think Rutgers at home is winnable, and like you said, Southern Illinois, Ball State at home. I can see 4 wins. You don't have to squint that hard to see 4 here potentially. So I am going to cautiously go 4, but I think 4 is their ceiling in 2025. So I'll go 4, but I would not be surprised if it's 3-9. But it's not an ugly 3-9. You know, like a positive.
Yeah, I mean, they have 5 teams that are preseason top 25 on the schedule. That doesn't include USC, and that doesn't include at Washington. So we've talked about going at Washington multiple times already. So, and at Minnesota as well. So it's not going to be an easy 4 or 5 wins, but I think they can do it.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on Barry O.
Don't sleep on Barry O. Matt Green. Sorry, I was about to sneeze there, and I did not end up sneezing. I muted myself just to make sure. I didn't catch it in time right before, so I wanted to make sure that go around that I was able to mute it, but I think I'm okay. Matt Green, next up. Rutgers. So the Rutgers stats are sad, Matt Green. And I wonder from Rutgers fans, are you enjoying this? It's kind of what I ask Maryland fans. It's what I ask I ask
the Big Ten.
Yeah, like, are you enjoying this experience? Like, has this really been fun? Having Rutgers
facilities are nicer.
Yeah, like
those checks are coming in. The buildings are cleaner. I don't know.
But are you as a fan enjoying this? So last season was the first in the Big Ten that the Scarlet Knights have won 4 games in conference play. They've been in the Big Ten a while, Matt Green. That was the first year last year that they won 4 games. Not even a winning record. Just won 4 conference games. Was last year under Greg Schiano.
Wow.
They have not been ranked, Matt Green. This is bonkers. Since 2012. Rutgers has not been ranked at any point in the season since 2012.
That's not that shocking, though. It is Rutgers.
But it's just, what are we doing here? I mean, it's just weird because the offense has been really ugly. Greg Schiano's a good coach. Like, we know Greg Schiano can coach. But I will say there are teams that I just like now. Part of my interest is I want to go in and save just offenses for these defensive minded coaches where I want to go in and be like, no. Like, this is, you've got a great thing going, Greg. Like, the defensive out, keep doing what you're doing. You keep doing this weird stuff offensively, trying to do this pro style stuff. You were pretty solid with the Bucks, this, that, and the other, but like, this is not going to work at Rutgers. Hire Jeff Monken from Army. He's already up there in the Northeast. Run the Army offense, have your defense, and see if you can carve out 7 to 8 wins every couple of years and still have a great defense and still be in that just perpetual bowl eligibility, because this is silly. The offense, I don't think is going to be good. Once again, they had that really great tailback who they ran all over the place a couple of years ago. That was a lot of fun, but the passing game has been atrocious for many years now when it comes to Rutgers football, but they have also hit the over the last 2 years, Matt Green. So I looked at this 5.5. I'm going over, and I'm still really dubious about Rutgers and where things are headed. I don't love their schedule. I don't think the offense is going to be very good. Once again, I think the defense will be just fine, but I don't know. They just don't need to run the offense that they do. They're just one of those programs that I've circled. I'm like, you guys need to run the triple or something like the triple and see how many wins you can get that way. Because, hey, Paul Johnson won't do it. He's not going to do the Rutgers winners there in the fall, but you need somebody in there. Maybe Brian Bohannon, the recently fired Kennesaw State coach who ran the triple at Kennesaw State, go do something like that, because this is just not going to work. But this schedule is just so boring. And if you're a Rutgers fan, I'm just like, wouldn't you rather be in the ACC for less money and a better shot of rising up the ranks a little bit? You're already on the Atlantic coast, kind of, Matt Green.
Yeah.
And just get out of there. Do you really enjoy this? Because you're not winning more than 4 conference games again. You're never winning the Big Ten. You're never making the college football playoff in this conference. What is the point?
Yeah, I know what you mean there. We can get on a whole nother conversation about the conferences and all that. It does make for a cool commercial. I always got to respect the Big Ten commercial there. But I was looking at their season a year ago because I feel like they're kind of sneaky respectable. Like I feel like you kind of think Rutgers is terrible, but they play with some teams. They've gone to a bowl game a couple years in a row. They didn't play any of the four, or I should start by saying this. They play the four highest ranked teams in the Big Ten this year. Oregon and Penn State at home, at Ohio State, at Illinois. Last year, they did not play any of the four Big Ten teams that went to the college football playoff. So I think that difference in that swing in the strength of schedule, I think is gonna be noticeable this year. And I think they go under. I think they miss a bowl game this year. So give me Rutgers going like 5-7.
Ooh, okay. We're disagreeing a lot here, Matt Green.
Yes, sir.
Next up, UCLA. As a Tennessee alum and reporter, radio show host, I could not, in good faith, lead the UCLA.
I had to take this one
conversation. It had to go to Matt Green here. UCLA 5.5, sir. What say you?
I had to remove myself. How do you remove yourself from the conversation?
Yes.
You can cut this part of the show out if you want to, and just steal my idea and just take it for yourself. But hosting your daily show as you do on the radio, I'm sure you guys have access to some of these ratings numbers and markets and stuff like that. You should find the ratings of the UCLA games in just individual metro areas throughout the season and see if there is a spike with the most hate-watched team of the year in Knoxville, Tennessee. Like, they're going to be tuning into UCLA games. You can pretend not to, but they're 100% going to be interested in those UCLA games this fall.
I don't know if they'll do it because you get so wrapped. Because once Tennessee starts, like, it's just SEC football in Tennessee. Like, I just think a lot of folks are just going to be like, they'll watch the highlights. Like, they'll keep up with how UCLA and Nico is playing and how the team's doing. But I don't think they're going to be locked in on like a dual screen where they have a Tennessee game going on with UCLA at Rutgers simultaneously. I don't think you're going to see any of that.
Maybe not as far as challenging any sort of Tennessee screen time, but UCLA, Michigan State's on. Nico's thrown a couple picks. I think some Tennessee fans would get some joy out of that. But
maybe
that's the number one story. Obviously, Nico Iamaleava and that whole transfer and everything. They went 5-7 a year ago. All 5 of those wins were by one score. They go at Ohio State, at Indiana this year, play Penn State at home. I think Deshaun Foster, I almost said Deshaun Watson. I think Deshaun Foster is a fireable coach after this season, honestly. Like, I think because of what he inherited, like, not that I'm calling for his job or anything, but like, I think I said about like Brian Kelly, like this year, like, there's just a certain vibe. It's like there's a result that could get him fired this year. You know what I mean? Like, I think with what Chip Kelly like ended at UCLA, 8-4, 8-4, 9-4 in his last 3 years, like, this program wasn't bad. So if you miss a bowl game for a second straight year, I mean, I think there is a conversation to be had about Deshaun Foster. All of that said, this team went 5-7 a year ago. I think Nico's good for one win, right? Like, I think that's a huge upgrade at the quarterback position, regardless of someone who's been like more critical than most about Nico. I think he still has talent, and there was a chance he was going to he can take that leap in year 3, his second year as a starter. I think he gets to a bowl game at the least. So 5.5 is tough. And like I said, some of those key games, but I think they can get to 6. And Deshaun Foster, I think that's all he's got to do is get to a bowl, and his job will be safe.
Yeah, I think it's just a long rebuild. I think Deshaun's got at least another year, depending on how this year goes. But I also think
should it be a rebuild when Chip Kelly was winning a decent amount there?
I just don't know what the appetite is there. I mean, it's a basketball school.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a hard job. I don't know. I have a hard time believing. Well, the other part of this is Deshaun is someone who won 4 of his final 6 here. If you saw how UCLA, they finished strong last year, Matt Green. They beat Nebraska on the road. They beat Rutgers on the road. They beat Iowa at home. They lost at Washington. They were right there against USC 19-13, and they beat Fresno in their bowl game. And I don't know. Or in their last regular season game, did they finish the season with Fresno State, not UCLA or USC? Am I reading that right? Why did they finish the year against Fresno State?
That's a good question. November 30th. I don't know why they played Fresno State in the final game of the season.
That was a makeup game? That's so bizarre.
You're saying it was a makeup game?
That's what I'm wondering. That's just really bizarre.
Yeah, the fact that it was November 30th makes me think it wasn't a makeup game. Did Notre Dame play? Did USC Notre Dame? Was that like that Thanksgiving week or something? Let me see.
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't remember off the top of my head now.
That was always the season finale, because I remember that one year that they upset them at the final game of the season, and that got Florida in the national championship when they beat Ohio State that one year.
Fresno is a final game for UCLA. It's just weird.
Yeah, just an out of conference game in general. The final game of the season. That's not like a traditional rivalry or anything.
Just play Cal or something. Yeah, that's bizarre.
That is weird. Yeah, Notre Dame, USC. I feel like they have played before on that Thanksgiving weekend, and yeah, they played Notre Dame. USC was the season finale last year.
Yeah. Well, I don't love this schedule for them this year. I'm going under. So they have to go to USC. They go to Ohio State, to Indiana, Penn State at home, but they also have to go to UNLV. And we're both bullish that Utah will be better. I don't think they're going to beat Utah out of the gate. And I'm not certain they're going to be able to go to UNLV and beat Dan Mullen and company.
Are we both bullish that Utah's going to be better?
Better than they were last year. We both had the over in wins in the Big 12.
Oh, you're right.
They were a year ago.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. You have the numbers right in front of you, don't you?
It's not sorted well, but it's in a Word document that I can find. But yes, go ahead.
Well, the point is, I'm just saying, I think Nico will ultimately, I'm curious if he's a one and done guy or he's like going to be part of this program for a couple years and wait for Madden, his brother,
to. I gotta stop you. You took the under on Utah.
Oh no.
I went over. So
what was the over under for Utah?
7.5.
Okay, that's still better than a year ago. I can take the under, and it's still better than what they finished last year.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, I'm going to go under.
I didn't mean to derail you.
I think 5-7 is about right again for UCLA. I'm going to go under.
Yeah, I was really close, honestly.
Next up,
going under on them.
USC, Matt Green, 7.5. I am locking in the over for USC. One of the things about USC last year that I think a lot of people aren't respecting, and not of it, like some of it's just like you're seeing on the trail. USC, as of this recording, has the number 1 class in 2026, a bunch of commits. They seem like they've gotten a lot in order on that department. They hired away the GM from Notre Dame, Chad Bowden, to run their football program. And Lincoln did not forget how to coach. D'Anton Lynn was a huge hire for DC last cycle. He stuck with Alex Grinch way too long. It was a mess up, but I do think they're moving in the right direction there, Matt Green. But it's little by little. So here's what's interesting about USC last year. They lost to Penn State and Michigan by 3 points apiece. They beat LSU, obviously, in the opener. They had a shootout loss against Notre Dame where that was just crazy. I think they threw a couple pick sixes, if I remember correctly, in that game. Do you remember that, USC? Did they throw a 99-yard pick six against
Notre Dame?
Yeah. If I remember correctly, I think that's what happened there. They had no blowout losses.
This is a 99 and a 100-yard pick six.
Do they have 200 yards? That's crazy.
And they were down 35-28 in the fourth quarter, and then both of those happened in the fourth quarter. I do not remember back-to-back 99 and 100-yard interception returns. Wow, that's crazy.
And that was the national champion runner-up that they were having their way with offensively. So you look at that. Jaden Maeva seemed like he figured stuff out. He's back for his full final year as QB1. Like I said, D'Anton Lynn, little by little, USC won 4 of their final 6. They also went from 119th in defense in 2023 to 77th under D'Anton Lynn last year in total defense. If you can get that up into the 50s again, and just little by little at USC and Lincoln Riley and company, just get it gradually a little bit better each and every year, USC is going to be scary good sooner or later in the Big Ten, and they're going to eventually challenge for the top of that conference. I don't think it's going to be this year, but I do think they're going to be better than 7-5, and I think they were right there last year. If you look at the schedule and look at the games that they were in, they could have easily been 8-4, 9-3 last year. So I'm bullish on USC, and I think their Lincoln and company have that thing moving in the right direction, and this is all going to work out in a positive way there. I'm going to buy. I'm going to say USC is like a 9-3 borderline playoff team this year, so I'm going over.
See, that's interesting. I agree with you. I don't think Lincoln Riley forgot how to coach football or anything. And we all forget like the 11-win year one he had at USC where Caleb Williams won the Heisman and all that. But 2023, I would argue, is the best the Pac-12 was for like, I don't know, the previous 20 years. Like that was like the best season that the deepest the Pac-12 was with like 5, 6, 7 like good teams at the top. And they went 8-5 with that schedule. And all his time in the Big 12, like the Pac-12 has kind of changed a little bit. It's got more teams. Well, obviously it's changed a lot. It doesn't exist anymore. But some teams that played more defense, like more kind of defensive oriented teams than previous era of the conference. The Big 12 defense was always optional. So I think there is something too, like in the Big 10, like they're only playing good defense. Like everyone is built on defense first. It feels like in the Big 10. And I wonder how USC can play that style. Like I think there's Lincoln Riley specifically, like if you have to, we know he knows how to coach offense. Like obviously D'Anton Lynn is the DC and he's one of the better DCs in the sport. But I think it feels like it like defense feels like a culture, and Lincoln Riley it's not part of his culture. Like defense feels optional. And when defense is optional, like your offense has to be the best offense in the country. And I wouldn't put it past Lincoln Riley to coach a team that has the best offense in the country. Like that's obviously possible, but I don't know what is it, 7.5? Like just looking at some of these games, at Illinois, at Notre Dame, at Oregon, even at Nebraska is a team that could be better this year. Like Michigan at home. Like there's several toss-up games on this schedule. I'm going back and forth, but I think I'm with you. I don't think 8-4 is crazy, but I would not be surprised at all. And I don't even name Iowa, a team you're higher on too. They play later in the season. So that's a lot of toss-up games. They're going to have to go, 2-2, 3-2 or so, I think, against ranked teams if they're going to go over. But you know what? Give me the under. Give me this team goes 7-5.
Ooh, man, there's a whole lot of
disagree
differences in this part 2 here, Matt Green.
Because I feel like I disagree so much in principle with you on USC in general. I'm like, we might as well disagree on the scoreboard. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they won 8 games, but I feel like it fits my feeling more about what I think about USC to go under. But I would be surprised. I would be shocked if they won more than 8 games, to be honest.
Okay. Final 2 here. Washington, 7.5. Jed Fish, year 2. What say you, Matt Green?
Washington was a really tough one for me. It is year 2, like, because this was a weird one too. Like he wasn't taking over some, rebuilding job. It was a team that was playing in the national championship the year before, but he took a lot with him on his way out to Alabama, or a lot just went other places as well. So, and to the NFL and to other colleges. So I really don't know what to make of Washington. We talk a lot about their home winning streak, and they get Ohio State, Oregon, and Illinois all at home. Like, those are some opportunities for some marquee wins at home, but it's also like, it feels like when you get those, it feels like you want the toss-up games at home, because it's like, if Washington goes the season and loses at Oregon, at Ohio State, there's no shame in that, but you get those at home. So you have to beat those really good teams at home. And then you go on the road, like, who knows, at Wisconsin or something, at Michigan, some of these road games that are toss-ups. Like, I don't know. The more I think about Washington, I think the more I'm thinking this team feels like a 6 or 7 win team. I think I'm always big year 2, and I like Jed Fish and what he did at Arizona, but I think I'm leaning towards the under on Washington.
We're gonna disagree again. You made my point. Like, a lot of their big games are at home. This is a team that's won 20 straight home games. And I also wonder, for your perspective, Matt, what's juicier? UW beating Oregon at home late, or UW beating Ohio State at home in the middle of the year?
I mean, it's not almost in that middle of the year. It's a September early season. Especially if Ohio State were to somehow lose to Texas too and Washington in September, like that would just be a massive storyline for college football. But yeah, I mean, I think if they beat Ohio State, that's probably the early like moment of the season, upset of the season to that point. So I don't know. That's just it. Those are opportunities to upset good teams, but it's also like those are some really good teams. Like I haven't seen I'm not downplaying their home winning streak, but I don't know how many top 10 teams they've beaten during that home winning streak. I know 2022 Oregon was a big time, like top 5, top 10 matchup that they won, but this team's not Roma Dunze and Michael Penix aren't walking through that door. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of toss-up games, and I tend to think Washington's not going to come out. I think this home winning streak for sure ends this year. I would bet my life that this home winning streak does not make it to 2026.
I think they are over, and I think they're going to be really good. I think Damon Williams is going to be a really fun, burst on the scene kind of guy this year for the Huskies. I got 8-4. I still think the schedule is just a little bit too tough for them to really challenge for the playoff, but I think they're going to get one of Oregon and Ohio State at home. I can't wait to see which one it's going to be, but people are going to, if they beat Ohio State at home, they're going to be undefeated going into Michigan, most likely. And that's mid-October. So it could be a special year for Jedd Fisch and the Huskies in year 2. So I'm going to hit the over. I think Washington's going to be really good this year.
Has there ever been a national championship rematch that was more low key than Washington, Michigan last year? Just it may as well have just been a footnote. Like, oh yeah, by the way, these two teams played for the national championship a year ago. Like, just the weirdest thing.
I don't hate that. Final thing here, Matt Green. Wisconsin, 5.5. Man, it hurts my heart. Hurts my nostalgia heart to see Wisconsin 5.5 here, over under. What say you?
Yeah, they have 6 ranked teams on their schedule preseason: at Oregon, at Michigan, at Indiana, at Alabama, and then they get Illinois and Ohio State at home. I don't see, like, they have to win one of those games to go over. Like, and not only do they have to win one of those games to go over, they have to win one of those games and then beat everyone else. Like, Wisconsin's not in a position of they're not a Penn State that beats everyone and then loses to the good teams. Like, they lose to everyone. Like, who knows how many toss-up games are on their schedule. They got 12 games, maybe 10 of them are toss-up games. Like, they have new starting quarterback Billy Edwards Jr. from Maryland. Like, maybe that's an upgrade at the quarterback position this year, but I don't know. I don't see any chance that this Wisconsin team goes bowling this year.
So can I say something that's really bizarre about Wisconsin too? So they hire Jeff Grimes, who's been at, like, I swear, 37 different college football stops as OC for a year or two, but he's good at what he does. So Kansas was 13th in rushing offense last year, where Jeff Grimes was. Whiskey was 14th in passing defense last season. So Wisconsin's defense is pretty solid, and I think there's a lot of room to grow there. Maryland was 17th in passing offense with Billy Edwards Jr. last year. Like, Maryland had some problems, but Billy Edwards Jr. quietly had a pretty great year there, and I think he's probably the best one-year QB guy that Wisconsin's had in a while, and he's not going to be asked to do as much as what they were doing with the air raid the last couple of years. They transitioned to Grimes style, which I think makes a whole lot more sense for what Wisconsin's trying to be. But it's also just kind of crazy where Wisconsin's at its football program, where Chris won 9 and 10 games in 2 of his final 3 seasons at Wisconsin before he was fired. They were never ranked last year, Matt Green. That hasn't happened since 1996, where they were not ranked at any point during the regular season. Wisconsin was never ranked last year. That's where Wisconsin football is at. To tell me that Luke Fickell and this has gone this wrong to this point is pretty baffling. Like, I did not think this was going to be a bad hire in a bad situation. I just thought it was a plug and play. He was great at Cincinnati, long time Ohio guy. He just waited his turn. Felt like he was just going to be solid at Wisconsin, and they were going to keep that thing humming. And they tried the air raid, and it's been a disaster. for years, and disaster in terms of what Wisconsin was before he got there. And you look at Brett Bielema's record at Wisconsin, Matt Green. You look at what he was doing there. You look at what Barry Alvarez did. You look at what Paul Chris did, and you look at where it's going with Fickell, and you're like, goodness gracious, this feels like, what was it, Anderson, who was there for a cup of coffee? Was it Gary Anderson, who was also at Utah State? Is that his name?
Hey, this dude was good. 9-4 and 11-3 in his 2 years at Wisconsin.
And that's what I'm saying. And Luke Fickell, it's not going well, man. And it's a huge year, but like you said, just a brutal schedule. I'm going to go over. I think it's 6-6 just with the change and how good the defense I think is still going to be. And I think Billy Edwards should have a good final year for them. I think Grimes is going to really get that ground game back moving in the right direction. It's where he does everywhere he goes. But I think it's a tough 6-6. And I wonder if that saves his job. Or do you have Luke Fickell as OC for Ryan Day in Ohio State in 2026?
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. Although that might say something about Brian Hartline as well. But yeah, your point, you said they weren't ranked. The last time they were season where they were not ranked at all was 1996.
Yes.
Last time they missed a bowl game before last year was 2001. So to miss a bowl game 2 years in a row, I think that's what it would take. This is what, year 4, or this is just year 3 of Fickell. So maybe just 3 years. I, in general, think most people should just get 4 years. Obviously, I wasn't calling for Deshaun Foster's job earlier. I acknowledge that.
Also, did I say DC or OC for Fickell?
Oh yeah, you said
DC.
OC. Yeah,
I meant DC. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. So yeah, I mean, it's you know how I feel about Luke Fickell. I think he's one of the better coaches in college football. I'm also shocked that his Wisconsin tenure has gone as poorly as it's gone to this point. But he also had the Tyler Van Dyke injury a year ago, so that obviously derailed the team. But I don't know. There's a lot of pressure on Fickell in 2025, and I don't know. I'm not sure how much better this team is than a year ago.
Yeah. Well, that's all.
But you went over, right?
I'm going over.
Okay.
Slide over. I'm going 6.
Yeah, wouldn't be shocked.
Well, that's all I've got, Matt Green. What can the good folks check out from you and over there at Georgia Voice of College Football this week?
We actually have a programming update, so we'll be doing it Mondays at 7:00 moving forward. So if you're trying to tune in live, Mondays 7:00, Georgia Voice of College Football on YouTube. Check us out. Like Chase Thomas said, 19 days till college football season. Brock Bowers is the obvious guy on the schedule, on the countdown this week. So Hines Ward, 19 is a competitive number for Georgia though. But yeah, 19 days, sir. I'm excited. Check us out. Voice of College Football.
There you go. Matt Green, always a pleasure. And I will talk to you again here in a couple days.
Yes, sir.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.